Hey there. I'm here today to walk through some of the ways you can look at project management, how to think about your tasks, because those are the things that we project manage in our lives, in our business, and ways to categorize them, organize them, and make them work in a way that works the way our brains work and not just stacking them on top of each other or hiding them in folders so you can't see them. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Anna of Anna Simple Solutions, and we work with entrepreneurs who are looking to systemize, create processes, and automate their business. I like to say that our lives are giving back yours. So, we're going to go here into ClickUp. So, let me find it. Here we go. Now, one of the things that we talk about when we talk about tasks. So tasks really come in different varieties. Not every task is created equal. Some are things that need to be dealt with right away. Some are things that are just like one-time things that need to be done sometime in the next week or two. They're not that vital. Some are part of client projects. Some are part of internal projects. And there's a lot of ways you can think of them. And it's sometimes really difficult to kind of figure out how to put them in an order or a list to make sure that they make sense and your brain can kind of process them a little bit quicker than trying to figure it out every time. So I really suggest looking at your task, making a big long list somewhere of everything you can brain dump out of your head, and start to categorize them into 5 different areas. So I'm going to start to do that here. And those 5 different areas really are emergency or really, really high priority tasks. Website's gone down. So-and-so got sick and his tasks need to be given to somebody else. Those types of things that really need quick attention if it needs to be done correctly. So emergency tasks are are in a category of their own. The other type of tasks that when you think about are those one-time tasks that I mentioned, those types of tasks that happen every now and again, they need to be done, such as like following up with so-and-so on the prices of a particular, an app or something like that, or making sure you get the W-2 from a contractor, things like that. Those would be one-time tasks that need to be done relatively quickly, but it's not quite an emergency, and it's not quite its own project. I usually determine the difference between one-time tasks and projects as projects. You gotta sit at the computer for more than an hour, or there are some multiple steps that you can see in them in order to make them work. So I call those the one-time tasks here. I have them on the side. And those would be, adding new logo to website, email, client about their birthday. Those types of things that come up every once in a while. And then we have repeating tasks. Repeating tasks are those tasks that happen more than once. They repeat every month. This could be part of your operations department, marketing department. Doesn't matter how you organize it. It doesn't matter how you organize it, but they are the ones, they're operational tasks. How often you pay taxes, how often you pay your employees, how often do you, I have daily checks on my daily list to make sure that things happen. I'm going to throw together something here so you can kind of see an example of what this can be. Each of these is a particular task that would repeat. Let's say that this one here, this was something I'd want to repeat every day. So I'm going to go into repeating task here. I'm going to set recurring. I'm going to do weekly when closed. I don't want to create a new task. I just want it to be like a reminder to do every day. And then I'm going to check to make sure that there's no more appropriate. Yep, that's fine if it just automatically updates to do, and then I'm going to save. And we're going to make the first due date today, the 17th. So you'll see that it shows up here on today, the 17th. I'm going to add actually a drop-down field here as well, and I'm going to call this field recurrence, because I want a way to see this. Let's see if I could actually spell it right. C-U-R-A-N-C-E. Is that right? Someone tell me if I'm wrong. Recurrence, and we're going to do daily. Let's add a color here. Daily is yellow. Weekly. Come on. And then we'll add monthly. And you can add, I have periodically as well. Yearly is certainly possible. It just kind of depends how you see those tasks. We're going to add that column in there. So now it is there. I'm going to move this over and actually clear up priority. All right, add coffee chats to Airtable base. I think this is going to be a weekly one. So let's go in here. I'm going to make it due on Mondays every week. Okay, it says Monday. It's still highlighting that, so it threw me off for a second. Weekly, we're going to hit weekly there, recur forever. We are actually, so this one, when complete, it will create a new task. So I'm going to save that. And that means when this is closed, even if it's overdue, it's not going to create a new task. It has to be closed for it to be considered complete. So that one's due Monday. And then review SOPs and update as needed. This is going to be monthly. And I want it done at the end of the month, monthly, set recurring. We're going to go to monthly, when complete, recur forever. When complete, create new task. We're not going to have it create a new task. And then we're going to click save. So we've got these three here. And we're going to set the recurrence for daily, weekly, and monthly. Now remember that this doesn't actually change the recurrence. So if you change this to weekly, it's not going to change the recurrence and the due date. It's just a label. And the reason why I have it that way is because it is pretty powerful to be able to see this different ways. So we're in the list view here, and I'm going to actually group it by custom field recurrence. And now you can see that they are over here, they are separated into daily, weekly, monthly. You can also list it by board view, and this is actually a way I really like to see it, also by daily, weekly, monthly. So that way you can move them around, you can kind of see at a high level view. All right, so that is the repeating tasks, and we talked about one-time tasks and emergency tasks, and then we have tasks that are part of a project. So the way I have this listed in here is that I have project tasks A. The way this is organized, and we can talk about this in a separate way, but the way this is organized is that this is an internal project. This is not a client project at this point. Those I'd probably put in another folder, but it's the same kind of concept, just attached to a list that's within my actual operations folder. Now, I could have this within marketing, I could have it with finances, depending where it kind of fell and who was responsible for it, but you could also have it in operations. And with this would be almost the actual project plan. So a long-term project that's not just a one-time task, not an emergency task or things like that, that have several steps involved and possibly have multiple people involved. So having that in a separate place is important to being able to be clear on the actual full progress of the project. So the next step would be, once you've kind of categorized those tasks into all those areas, is looking at specifically the project tasks, about breaking them down into all of the pieces that are needed in order to kind of put them back together. So you take that endpoint, whatever that project is meant to do, and step yourself back on all of the steps that need to be done in order to get to that end product. So for example, I am going to, let's say that we are creating a mobile application development. And this is, so those of you that use ChatGPT, this is a really good use for it to get example data like this. So I just looked it up real quick, and then we can use it as sample data in the project tasks here. So I'm just actually going to copy and paste. Oops, not that. I didn't want that. Let's do it now. And what's great about ClickUp is that it will see that these are different and want to create 30 tasks or however many tasks. So let's just say I went through here and I saw what the main phases are, etc. And each of these have a different main phase and subtasks within them. Now, within the planning phase, there are definite real subtasks or things that need to be done in order to complete the planning phase. So in ClickUp right now, all of these are just listed as tasks. So I'm going to go, and luckily we can choose more than one at a time. And I am actually just going to drag and drop them just a little bit in between there. And now those are subtasks within the main task. So you can window shade that up, etc. And then I can go down the line and do it with the rest of them as well. All right. Took me a hot second because some were going into the other ones, but those are now done. Hopefully that didn't take too long. Speed up through the video there. So these are all the phases in there. And let's say we are in here and there's even some smaller steps in here, such as create user personas. Let's say we need to create 5 user personas. Now you could create subtasks within there, but I think something like this is that you can create the personas and keep track of what those personas are if you need to do 5 of them or a certain amount without actually creating so many nested dolls or so many nested tasks within there, which becomes a little bit messy when you're trying to run reports or trying to really see the overview of how complete things are. So you have 2 options to do this. One is that you can add a checklist, and let's say we add I'm just going to label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 personas there. And as people go through and create them, depending on who's assigned, etc., they can just check them off here. You could also do something like this. Please, so this would have description. Please make sure the 5 personas listed below are created. And then you could actually do the checklist. I'm using shortcuts here to get that done. And then kind of do it like this, 4, 5. The difference is you are able to track when these checklists are done, and you can't track at a higher level when these are done unless you actually go in the task. So depends on whether that's important or not. But what's beneficial about this is that it's really presence of mind. You don't need to scroll down to see it. And that has its benefits as well. All right, so we're just going to sit here in project tasks A while I kind of talk about the next point that you want to make sure that you pay attention to when you are doing any sort of project managing, whether it's internal, in your house, planning stuff for your kids, birthday parties, what have you. You really want to make someone responsible and make sure that you set deadlines and indicate what priorities are. One of the things that ClickUp does automatically is always gives you this list of priorities here on the right-hand side. And I have to be honest, I don't use it that much, but after many conversations, I've realized that sometimes the communication of what the priority really is, other than due dates, can be really helpful within the communication, within your team, and the more communication, the better, in my opinion. So for every single one of these, we have to make sure that we assign. And again, you can assign many at once. In fact, I'm just going to go in and select all. And it's going to select all the tasks. It is not going to select the subtasks. You have to do those separately. But let's say I'm in charge of all of the main tasks here. So I've chosen all, and I am just going to assign it to myself. Okay? And it'll update there. And let's say the due date for each of them is slightly different. I could go into different boards and different views, but we're just going to go and make sure that they're all kind of due a week apart here. We are not quite talking about all the differences in due dates, even though we talked about repeating tasks. But this is just kind of putting it in here So you can kind of see what it looks like all completed. And let's say for this example, here's the planning phase. The first thing that we need to do is define the project scope and goals. So we're going to actually set this as high priority and then these as medium priority, just so identify competitors, determine key functions, just so people working on this, they'll know to make sure to do this one first. So when we kind of talk about that, if you do this in another sort of tool, you can do it the same. Every tool has an ability to assign it to someone and do a due date. If you are doing this in Excel or file type like that, or even writing it down, being able to put initials of someone who is in charge of it or who you need to tell about it and the due date will be really powerful in making sure you can come back to it. So this was just a brief example. I'm going to go back to operations here of how to categorize your tasks, making sure that they are accurately put in or accurately indicated as emergency, one-time, repeating tasks, as well as project tasks. The one type I didn't go into that's on here is the ideas or brain dump, which is always a really good idea to have. If you have an idea, you know you want to do it someday, but you can't do it quite yet, so you want to consider it for like next month or next year. So that is a good place to put it there as well. And then how to actually assign them, make sure that they have due dates, and make sure that you know what priority they are, so you're able to actually accurately prioritize and make sure that things get done when they need to get done. As someone who constantly struggles with knowing what to prioritize when, going through this process and thinking about almost everything I do in my life in this manner has really helped make sure that I can, and my team and the clients that I work with, get the information they need when they need it, and we don't run behind or anything like that. So this is Anna of Anna's Simple Solutions. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has been helpful to you. And as always, keep it simple.